Google. Let's go get him again.
What's going on, fragrance family? Welcome to the Robes Away channel. I'm your host, Mark, and today, best day of the week. Sundays are awesome. Sampling Samples Sunday. Absolutely love it because I'm discovering a new scent. And maybe you are too, or you're tuning in because you just bought this scent. We're gonna see how it goes with Sampling Sunday. Usually it's a little lucky scent sample, which only just gives me a couple wearings, but sometimes little samples is all I need. Today we are sampling from the brand of Byredo, and Byredo and I had a rocky past. A lot of niche brands that I discovered way back when I was in my early 20s, so those days are long gone. You know, I blind bought a lot. A lot of you that have been with me since 2009 know this. Byredo is a brand that I sampled a lot of the brand, most of it back in the day, and I came out with a bottle of Pulp and a bottle of Val d'Afrique. I felt those were the two that were the standouts of the brand. I feel Byredo, don't shoot me, a little overhyped, but overhyped brands, I always like to rediscover them. I always like to give them a second chance, a third chance with my nose, and sometimes that works. Sometimes I go, oh geez, you know, I missed 5, 6 of these and start buying. And that's case in point here with Byredo is that, you know, now in 2023, I started sampling again. Of course, I started dabbling in their Night Veils line because you know me, I like darker stuff. So I had a samples on Tobacco Mandarin, which is the one that I felt was the one that's going to be closer to my taste as far as me blind buying something. And I was right. So that came out to a full bottle purchase. We'll be unboxing Tobacco Mandarin hopefully in the next few months on my channel. But we are sampling today from the same line, the Night Veils collection, this one called Vanille Antique. The name intrigued me. First of all, I'm a huge vanilla guy. I own tons of vanillas. It's like one of my favorite notes. And of course it says Antique on it, so maybe, you know, old vanilla or something in the realm of that, and that really interests me. Names and fragrances do interest me. I'm a sucker for that a little bit. So I wanted to double dip on the Night Veils line and see if I can explore and find another Byredo that I like. So vanilla is an easy note. Again, vanilla, I have a lot of them, so it takes enough to impress me. Now, Spiritueuse Double Vanille by Guerlain is the star of the show. It is the best vanilla-based fragrance of all time. Now, so the most complex vanilla, I didn't say that, but to me, it's a vanilla extract. That's all I need, and it's dark, it's syrupy, it's comforting, it's warm, it's everything that I want for a really expensive vanilla. Nothing can beat it. Nothing has beaten it. Grand Soir by MFK, another good one. But other than that, there is some really good ambers and vanillas in the game, so you have to impress, especially at this price point that Byredo's asking, you have to impress. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about Vanille Antique, and I'll tell you what I sniffed and do I think it's worth it. So let's go under the hood. Let's take a look at some stats on this one. His release date was back in 2022, so it's actually a recent release. Concentrations extrait de parfum. The one thing I'd like to say in this fragrance review that I've seen a few people poo-poo the push on this fragrance, which means the performance on it. Because it says extrait on the bottle does not mean it's going to blow the barn doors off a fragrance like that. Now, you're thinking price, extrait, okay, you know, I'm paying a lot of dollars. Now, a fragrance like this blows the you know, Tobacco Mandarin. Some of them do. Some of them don't. And honestly, with all fragrances, they all are built differently. In this one, I'll be honest, it does last, but it doesn't blow the barn doors off, we'll say. Now let's take a look at the note breakdown, or the major notes to my nose. And again, the major notes may not be the bigger notes in the fragrance, it's the ones that actually make an impact to my nose. The bourbon vanilla, big time. Like it says vanilla on the bottle, oh, you're gonna get vanilla. Amber. It's in an ambery fragrance, labdanum, vanilla. You put them together, you get a nice ambery glow. It's got it. And plum. And plum's a sneaky one on this one, and I'm gonna get into that because on one wearing, I was like, where are you? And then on the next wearing, I'm like, there you are. So let's get to sniffing. Vanille Antique, of course, is my scent of the day today. As you can see, my little lucky scent sample here. I'm not going to show you the detail, but there's just enough to remind me of this introduction. But I am wearing it today. as my last wearing of it. And I'll be honest, this fragrance right now, you know, off this review, in the couple wearings that I wore, it reminds me of the brand of Byredo and me, Tumulus. Like really just I don't know where I'm going with this scent. And sampling samples, you know, the easy ones are like, you smell it, you're like, this is a buy, easy. And then there's the ones that you smell them and you're like, nah, not good enough. And then there's these kind of sampling samples. And I like these, but this one I came out neutral. And I'll tell you why. So let's empty out this little vial, which there's not much to it, not much left. And there's so much positive, and it's so familiar, and that is, I don't want to knock it down a couple pegs because, you know, a lot of you that are watching this may not have sampled or smelled or have a 3,000 bottle collection like I have. So it may not smell familiar to you, but to me, it's almost like I need to pump the brakes a little bit and say, okay, because it smells familiar doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. So the opening of Vanille Antique, let's go with some good things here. Impresses me with a syrupy, warm, comforting vanilla extract kind of smell right away. Now I'm gonna kind of skip the plum and the freesia, which those are the top notes of the scent, but we're gonna get into that. But I really wanted to emphasize the vanilla before we get into those notes. The vanilla is probably the reason why you're gonna buy this or sample this fragrance. This fragrance is gonna live or die by the vanilla note, basically. So it's really important. The vanilla note, excellent in this scent. Oh yeah. What I want and what I got here is a boozy vanilla pod, and it shows this in this one, and it has an ambery backbone, so it has some resin to the back end that really helps it and gives this resinous syrupy quality. I love these type of vanillas. Again, my number one is Spiritueuse Double Vanille for a reason. That fragrance is syrupy. It's very much like a vanilla extract. I want my vanillas to be brown in color. Vanilla pod, like not white fluffy vanillas. I want something with some gusto to it. And this one does have it. Now the one, I don't want to say like a backhanded compliment, but it reminds me of some designer vanillas. Not really good designer vanillas, but it reminds me of vanillas that are used by Maison Margiela, like by the fireplace. Stronger With You by Armani. It reminds me of the use of those. Now, a little different, yes, of course. There's much more to this scent and those scents to really compare them. They're, I wouldn't say comparable, but same family, I would say. And this scent off the bat immediately brought me to those scents. And that could be a bad thing. I smelt this off the bat and immediately I'm like, this smells familiar. What does this smell like? I've smelled something like this before. And those are some good comparisons. Like those are some pretty good designer fragrances. I like them. Some people don't. But, you know, Grand Soir by MFK, I think is a better fragrance than this, in my personal opinion. But it's around that way. It's very solid, very good vanilla. Would it trump my Spiritueuse Double Vanille by Guerlain? No, not at all. Not even close. And the price tag does not help it either. But I give this vanilla ambery combo here its props. I have to. I like it. It's warm, it's comforting, it's got that brown vanilla pod that I'm looking for, and I don't want no white fluffy vanillas, and this is not it. A little bit of that. There's a little bit of spice here and an ambery glow here that I absolutely love, and once you put that in a DNA of a scent, a portion of a scent, you got me. It is very good. Now, beyond this excellent vanilla, there's a minor freesia note up top that brightens the opening a bit. You're gonna lose that more into the dry down, but it gives this scent some brightness. So the freesia gives off a mild powdery aspect. Now you can get that from freesia, you can get that from the ambery glow, because amber does give powdery aspects too, but there's also a faint spice quality from freesia, which really helps this idea that this vanilla starts getting kind of boozy. Like that ambery glow kind of goes boozy on me a bit. Very interesting. Now that boozy take, plum, plays a little part of this. Now the plum, when I first tested out this fragrance off this sample, and I remember faintly because I wrote it in my notes, is that the plum was such a disappointment in the first wearing. To my nose, I hardly detected it. On the second wearing though, I actually wore this, you know, I wasn't planning to go outside, but I did while wearing this. And it was, obviously it's summer, so it's high heat. And this is, you know, this fragrance just, once I started, you know, being outside, sweating a little bit, that plum note in the mid, man, it just jumped off my skin and it really changed this fragrance. Like it really brought it to a place that I didn't get in the first wearing. It really enhanced that plum and more into the mid of this scent, not right away. So when I first dabbed it on, and even here, it's faintly there, but it's not a major player. Now, like in the mid, it's more of a major player. And the plum came off, and again, this helps with everything that's surrounding it. The plum came off jammy, boozy, because of it. And I felt like I had to wait a good 15 minutes before it really amped up. But when it did amp up, I absolutely loved. It just gave this scent that extra push that it needed for the price that they're asking. This was worth the wait. At that point, I was like, this is magic, it's beautiful. Now in the mid, the labdanum, again, now in this section, the labdanum shows more of its personality. It's helping us bring up that ambery glow. It seemed like the vanilla took more of a backseat. It was more vanilla heavy up top. Now it's more of an ambery, of course, with the labdanum and the vanilla kind of going together. Now you're getting more of an ambery glow than vanillic aspects. Of course, you know, amber does give vanillic aspects anyway, but it was less vanillic here, more resinous. This is when the antique portion of the name comes into play, because there's soft woods. Now the woods remind me, and I was trying to figure out what that wood smelled like. And you know what it smells like? And this is just me, you know, an imagery right now, is that it smelled like a really old bookcase. And the bookcase is like empty. It was been sitting there. So there's some dustiness to this bookcase. And there's only like 4 or 5 novels just kicking around. Leather bound, of course, because of the labdanum, and it just really amplifies this whole idea of, just picture this, you know, vanilla pods soaked in a boozy plum drink, and you're staring at this old bookcase. It's dusty. You can kind of smell some of the wood here that's kind of chipping off, so you can smell a little bit of the wood and the dustiness, and it's just gorgeous. I'm at this point. It really is. This is where the fragrance shines. Really nicely done. Now some other facets in this dry down. The vanilla felt a little more toasted here. Interesting concept, but it felt toasted, like a stronger with you. That's where this correlation with the stronger with you. The stronger with you, the vanilla does have like a toasted, and they have nutty aspects and things like that. This doesn't have that nutty aspect, but it has that toasted vanilla. Now, that's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not trying to compare this to a shitty designer. Unfortunately, some people may think that way, but it just reminded me of this scent, and it just felt like, why is this expensive? So there is some ways that I'm just like, you know, it's pulling me. Like, it's pulling me in different directions. And sometimes when you're doing fragrance reviews like this, you gotta draw the line in the sand, and sometimes it just isn't there. And that was one of the portions that I was just like, is it worth this pricing? Now the woods creep up more here in the dry down, so you're getting more of that bookcase, like you're getting closer to it. The amber gets more resinous. The labdanum itself, even though a big player into this ambery glow, gives this scent a slight leathery touch. Now, I don't want to say this is a leather-based scent. It definitely isn't. That's why I was trying to emphasize that there's only like 3-4 books in the bookcase, because it's more woods, it's more ambery glow, it's more of that plum. There's a musky component here that kind of helps with that dusty bookcase kind of idea that runs through Vanille Antique, that I really think just helps that whole antique side of it. Overall, this scent is a good vanilla. And a good vanilla you do need one of those in your arsenal. But once you get into my type of collecting and my section of fragrance reviewing, this one is good, but this is a big but. But it smells familiar to me. Now, I have others that do this, but that's the double-edged sword of the vanilla genre, because it is flooded, and that's, you know, certain notes, this, vetiver, I can go on, patchouli, rose, all that. You start getting, there's too much on the market that you kind of have to place this. Where does this go? This scent is definitely more vanilla than antique to me. So it's more of that first word than the second word on the bottle. It's a good scent, but this sampling, which this happens from time to time when I'm doing sampling samples, it's honestly putting me in the what do I do with this one pile. Was it that different that I need it? Is it good enough to pull the trigger? You know, it left me with more questions than answers, and usually the sample gives me the answers of the questions that I was asking. So now I'm at this point that, am I really gonna miss this fragrance, and do I really need to buy this fragrance to add to my Byredo collection? That's a great question. Now let's get into seasons, day, night, versatility, and performance. We'll start it off with seasons. This has fall written all over it, and it would shine in the fall. Now the comparisons, you know, the Grand Soirs and the Stronger With Yous and the Maison Margiela's, all of those are built for fall too. Winter, of course, that too. But it is a fall-based scent for me. These Canadian fall seasons, beautiful. Now, day or night, I feel like this is more of a nighttime scent. It just is a little too much. Again, during the day, cozy, you know, you're staying in type of day, and it's a scent for you. I can see that. Versatility, fairly average. I don't see any drawbacks as far as versatility goes with this one. Performance. Now, this is a big piece of this. People see the word extrait de parfum and they're all up in arms. Oh, it only lasts this long, or oh, it's not, you know, not everybody can smell me. Listen, concentration does not mean that it's, you know, the higher it goes, the more performance you get. Please stop. So this one, what does it do? It lasts and lasts and lasts. The longevity on this one, 9 to 10 plus hours. When I was wearing it, it was lasting. Now the one thing is does it project? It projects in the first couple hours, but it's average projection versus its comparison. So it's one of those that lasts on your skin, but it's not going to project much. It will in the first couple hours, but after that, it's more of a skin scent. But that's not a bad thing. Not every scent has to be a huge bomb. So, my final thoughts. Well, this one really, you know, played a little bit with my heartstrings. Do I want it? Yeah. Is it pricey? Oh yeah. So, is it an excellent vanilla? Yes. Is it something new in the fragrance game? No. It reminds me of a few designers that are amber vanilla heavy. You know, good designers, not cheap ones, not shitty ones, in my personal opinion. But also, it goes against some of the best niche vanillas in my collection. But I feel like, do I have 3, 4, maybe 5 that are better than this in the niche realm? I can think of 2 already, Grand Soir, Spiritueuse Double Vanille, 1-2 Punch. I can find more, especially if you're starting to add ambers and not just vanillas. Forget it. So if I'm being honest, this price point, I could probably find some better ones for me personally. The sample game isn't always black and white, and you see it today on this video. This little Lucky Scent sample, you know, they have their utility. They do help me on easy decisions of I don't like it to I love it, but those middle fronts, there's just not enough sample for me to sample, and this is where we are here. This little Lucky Scent sample failed me. It's too much of a too small of a sample for me to fully go, yes, I want this fragrance, to no, it's not worth it, especially once you only get a couple wearings with this. So my two wearings were really polar opposites. You know, that first wearing really missed that plum. Where were you? Second wearing, that plum just changed the whole game. It did. Now, is it worth it? I don't know. So honestly, hopefully I helped you with all the detail I gave you on this particular scent, but I'm at a crossroad with it, and we will see if I'll get it in the near future. You may see this fragrance again 2 years later, 3 years later, again on a sampling samples, and we'll see how it goes. Or maybe one day a bottle's just gonna show up. You never know. But at this point right now, there is a lot more scents that I've been sampling that are yeses, and this is a maybe. It's not a complete no, because it does compare to others, but that never really sways me too much. I like to have some that are the same but a little different, and there's definitely not a fragrance in my collection that does exactly what this does. No, that's one thing. So if I have to give it a score, like I always do on sampling samples, out of 10, I'm gonna give this one 8 bottles out of 10, mostly positive. Again, the things that are negative to me are just basically personal. They're to me. You know, if you're in this journey and it all makes sense to you that I'm naming off these scents that do smell like it a little bit, you know, it's taking portions of it, and you have a collection like mine, you're gonna be like, this all makes sense, and you may be in the same ballpark as me, but most people aren't. So some people may smell this and go, this is unique, this is different, this is beautiful. And I can definitely see why, and that's why it's getting a good score. 8 bottles out of 10. And honestly, I don't know, if I got a bottle of this and I was continuing to get what I got on that second wearing, that might jump up to a 9, because it is a very good vanilla slash woody slash plum dusty type of leathery thing. Very interesting. But there's my take on Vanille Antique by Byredo. Now that you heard my take, I'd love to see yours in the comments below. See how many people love it, hate it, or felt the same way as me on this one. Kind of almost in the middle of the thing, going, it's a good one, but do I really want it? And as always, a great pour fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your scent wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one. See you next Sunday on another Samplin' Sample.